And we are back on Sportsman Radio. I'm your host, Chris Schanfeld, and I am now joined by NFL quarterback Jordan Palmer. Thanks for joining the show, Jordan. How's it going?
Doing great, man. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. It's a pleasure to have you on the show, and I want to get right into it. In the 6th round of the 2008 NFL Draft, the Washington Redskins select quarterback Jordan Palmer out of the University of Texas, El Paso. How was that moment for you just to achieve your dream and make it to the NFL?
Well, you know, it's interesting. Everybody has a different draft day experience, and for some reason, the guys who get drafted in the 1st round have cooler experiences than the guys getting drafted in the 6th round. I don't get it, but for some reason, they enjoy the process. Maybe it's a little less nerve-wracking. But it was great. It was, that was my dream, since I was a little kid, to play in the NFL. And when they call your name and you see it go across the TV screen, it's just one of those joys in life. It's outside of your control, and you can't prep for it any more than you already have. You just kind of let it happen. So it was fun.
Can you tell us about a moment that you had in the NFL where you actually thought to yourself, wow, I'm actually in the NFL?
Yeah, there was. I had a unique experience. My brother's 4 years older than me. He was already there. And so, I spent my time in college with my college teammates and then flying around, meeting up with my brother and doing, following him along. So it was a great experience for me to be able to get a glimpse of what the league is, the work that goes into it, and most importantly, how to be a pro. And so I had the opportunity to learn how to be a pro from a guy who is a real true pro.
On January 30th, 2008, you signed that 2-year contract with the Cincinnati Bengals, and you were back up to your brother, Carson Palmer. You two were the first brothers in NFL history to play on the same team at the same time. I got to think that was pretty cool.
It was great. It was one of those things we'll always look back on, regardless of what happens with our careers and post-football. We'll always have those 4 years that we can look back on and say, man, this was just a great time in our lives. His wife, they had twins during that time period, so to be able to be there, my wife, to be able to be there and help and be a part of, them, finding out they're having twins all the way to, being with them until they're 3. It was just a great, great season of our lives, and we're just very blessed to be able to have that look back on it.
Your brother spent the last couple of seasons playing for the Oakland Raiders, and he just recently signed with the new-look Arizona Cardinals. How do you think he'll perform out there in the desert throwing passes to the great Larry Fitzgerald?
I think that he's going to be regarded the way that he should. For some reason, and I can't put my finger on it, he's just been overlooked, and he's been doubted, and he's just been a guy who's flown under the radar. But the guys who know what they're talking about in the league, from the Chris Mortensen to the coach, you talk to coaches who've been in the game for a long time, everyone shares that same opinion of, how is this guy not considered one of the best? And I think fans and media look so much at stats, but stats as a quarterback, there's times when they're really relevant, like completion percentage, but it is a relevant stat. But then there's the stats that are irrelevant. And guys look at yards and interceptions and don't realize that the last 2 years we had in Cincinnati, going to Chad and T.O., I mean, the guys are not in the right spots all the time, and some of those picks aren't on you. And in Oakland, most people can't name a wide receiver on that team, and he still threw for 4,000 yards. So I think that he's finally at the point in his career where he's going to get the respect that he deserves, and he's going to be able to end his career the way that he wants, playing at a high level, and throwing to a guy who's going to really make some stuff happen. I'm excited for him.
Yeah, you got that right, man. I mean, I really cannot name a guy on that Oakland Raiders roster, or I should say a wide receiver on that Oakland Raiders roster. Now he's in Arizona, being coached by the great Bruce Arians. He has a great wide receiver in Larry Fitzgerald. Of course, another talented wide receiver, second year, Michael Floyd, out of Notre Dame. I mean, I'm holding your brother up to high standards, and I think he'll reach them.
Yeah, I think he'd appreciate that. He holds himself to those, and he's just a guy who keeps his nose down. He grinds. He wins. He's not the most dynamic leader I've ever been around, because he's not a rah-rah, here we go, boys kind of guy. But he's just one of the best leaders I've been around. He's quiet. He's a calming presence. And this isn't because he's in his 11th year in the NFL. This was like this early on. He's just a guy who's just going to come in and lead. And you can't help but want to follow, regardless of the position or your background. And so those guys you mentioned are going to have big years. years, and he just keeps saying, dude, we got some guys on here that you've never heard of that you're going to. You know, some tight ends, some running backs, and I don't want to help out the NFC West, and but really are. But he's got some guys who are going to be under the radar and have big years. So I love hearing that.
I already know it. Now, Jordan, back to you. You recently worked out with the Chicago Bears, and many players, including Jamarcus Russell and Trent Edwards, were also there. How do you feel those workouts went?
I thought it was great. You know, it was cool to see what Coach Trestman's building there and what he's doing, and you know, I think they've got some big things ahead of them. And you know, I'd known Jamarcus and Trent from my Elite 11 days. You know, back when we were younger, so it was funny to be at the same page. You know, at the same point in our life right now, and you know, be able to kind of compete against each other and go through that experience.
Here's Jamarcus Russell, a former first overall draft pick by the Oakland Raiders. He certainly didn't have the best career thus far in the NFL, but he's trying to make a comeback. He's dropped, 40, 50 pounds already. He did gain a lot of weight. Now he's lost it. Will Jamarcus Russell make a comeback into the NFL?
You know, I think it's going to be tough. I think that the NFL is based a lot around perception. For the same reason that Tim Tebow has a hard time finding a job outside of people's opinion on his abilities. People don't want to deal with the circus. They don't want to deal with the media attention that comes with it. And Jamarcus is going to be in that same category. You know, guys are going to say, "Well, he's big and he's strong and he's this," but do I want to be that general manager who took a chance on him? Because if it's right, I look good. If I'm wrong, then I just look like an idiot. And there's going to be a lot of GMs that don't want to put their name on that. And so I think Jamarcus is going to have a tough time getting back into the NFL. And there's going to be the way that the league's set up right now. Guys have their one, they have their two, and most of them aren't carrying a three. So a 29-year-old guy trying to make it back in the league is going to have a difficult time when he's labeled the circus and labeled the developmental guy. You don't want to be a developmental guy when you're 29. When you're 23, 24, 25, it's okay. But you know, Jamarcus, myself, and Trent all coming out the same year. We're all past that point, and we need to be guys who can come in right now and play.
Chris Shanfeld talking with NFL quarterback Jordan Palmer here on Sportsman Radio. Jordan, I have just a few quick, fun questions to get to know you a bit, and then we'll talk about the Elite 11. Does that sound good?
Absolutely.
Jordan, what's your favorite TV show and movie?
I'm a big American Idol fan right now. Been watching that for a couple years, and you just said you're going to come back to the Elite 11. I think that's why I like American Idol. Is the Elite 11 is that, you know, it is. We go around the country, we try and find the top kid, and so I've embraced that whole experience. But man, I'm on the Game of Thrones thing right now too. So I get pretty hooked. I feel like I'm watching Gladiator every Sunday night. And movie-wise, man, I'm a comedy guy, so
Before you go on,
I like the old stuff.
Before you go on, please tell me, all right, here's two of my favorite movies, Step Brothers and Napoleon Dynamite. Please tell me you enjoy those.
I went through a period of my life where Napoleon Dynamite was a big part of my day-to-day. I can't say that I've watched it the last 8 years, but then there was a 2-year period where it was on repeat. Yeah, Step Brothers is huge. I mean, anything Will Ferrell touches, worst case scenario, I'm going to giggle at it. So I think you and I at least have a little bit in common already.
Hey, man, that's great. That's great. Except for football, what was your favorite sport?
Well, you know, actually, I'm at a friend of mine's house shaping a surfboard right now. I'm getting a new board made, so I'm sitting here actually painting the deck on it. But I grew up surfing, and I wish I was better at surfing and could have done that instead of play football. But it's one of those things that I started when I was little. I'll do till I die, and it's just a passion of mine. And surfing and hunting, big bow hunter, and got a piece of property in Ohio with some big whitetails. So you know, I grew up playing basketball, baseball, and all that stuff. But my passions are definitely surfing and hunting.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Favorite thing to eat?
Oh man, I'm on a Yogurtland kick right now. I don't know if you guys have those frozen yogurt places called Yogurtland, but every 2 weeks they change up the flavors, and you know, it's like my wife and I go there like fat kids, and oh man, new flavor coming out today. What's it going to be? Drum rolls. We walk in, so I wish I could say it was a fancy restaurant, but I'm on a frozen yogurt kick.
Jordan, you're on Twitter at JWPalms. Of course, if it wasn't for social media and Twitter, we wouldn't be doing this interview right now. I really appreciate it. Why do you make it important to connect with your fans?
I've been fighting off the Twitter thing. I just got on Twitter a couple weeks ago. I'm on Instagram. I'm J Palms on Instagram. I love Instagram. I think it's fun and check around there, and I check it a bunch. And it's a great way to follow friends and family. Twitter is a headache to me. It's a necessary evil, I believe, and I'm starting a broadcasting career, and so it's just it's helpful to have that. And now that I'm kind of getting into it and understanding it better, I am having fun. Following people, and I've actually learned it's a great way to get news and what's going on in any in any field. So I just got on there a couple weeks ago, and I'm gonna watch this thing grow a little bit.
If you're able to meet any famous person, who would that be and why?
My idol growing up, I've never met him, is a guy named Laird Hamilton. He's a pioneer in the surfing industry. He's actually a pretty well-known guy, but he's out in Maui, and he's the first guy to surf all these different places all over the world. He's known as just a legendary workhorse in his training and his diet, and he's been a pioneer in nutrition. And so he's just a guy who's just a bad dude. And so I've always looked up to him. Never met him, and I don't get starstruck a whole lot. I really don't give people too much credit when you meet them, because fame is a pretty vague term for why people are famous, but that's a guy I've looked up to for a long time. That's got a little bit of attention over the years.
And last but not least, what is something about Jordan Palmer that many people do not know about?
Well, I will say this, and I wouldn't have said this with pride too long ago. Now I just don't care what people think. I am a pug enthusiast. My wife and I got a pug about 4 years ago. And we were kind of dog people growing up. Yeah, let's get a little dog. And, man, I am one of those weird pug people. I used to think, how can people let their dog sit on their lap and sleep at the end of their bed? Man, my dog cuddles at night. So I'm pretty confident in who I am, and I'm a married guy, and so I don't don't really care what people's opinions are, but, man, I'm obsessed with my pug and probably going to get another one here pretty soon. It's pretty pathetic.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Jordan, it's been a pleasure speaking with you. Now, before I let you go, I want to talk a little bit about what you're doing with Elite 11. Of course, we know Trent Dilfer is doing some things with it. It's been pretty big for a while now. You want to tell us what you're doing with Elite 11?
Yeah, Elite 11 is a program that's been around for 16 years. We go around the country, and we find the top rising seniors, so kids in high school that are going to be going into their senior year. And we have Nike's our main sponsor, Nike and Gatorade, and we go around the country, these events. We've had 12 regional events, and these kids come from all over the country to come to these, to compete, to get a bid to go to the finals for Elite 11. And the finals this year are going to be held at the Nike campus at the end of June. ESPN will be airing a 3-hour live show on ESPNU, and then they'll shoot a documentary, and that'll air in September. And it'll be 2 one-hour shows on Thursday night primetime ESPN. And we had last year, we had over 1 million viewers, and that was during the Summer Olympics. So it's an exciting time for me. And if you look back at the history of the Elite 11, we had 5 of the last 6 Heisman Trophy winners. 6 of the last 7, 5 of the last 7 number 1 overall picks. And you can just pencil in the next 5 or 6 Heisman winners to come from this. Name a quarterback in the league. They went through the process, as long as their last name's not Manning, because it is only 16 years old. But it's been an amazing thing. And actually, other than the owner and the guy who godfathered it, I'm the only other person who's been to all of them. And I was just fortunate enough to have it start in my backyard, and was shagging balls, filling up water cups. And then I went through the process, and I was a college counselor for it. And now I run it with Trent. So it's exciting for us because we put in a lot of work. We vet all these kids, we watch their film, and learn a lot about them, and then we end up selecting them, and we just made our final 18 selections. They're going to go to Oregon and compete to be part of the top 11, and like I said, you go through the list with 22 starters in the NFL last year, wore the Elite 11 jersey, so we're going to shoot a lot of stuff, canning a lot of footage for the show, and we're going to air here in about a month. It'd be fun.
That's awesome, man. I literally just graduated high school not even a month ago. I'm sure you can make an exception for me, right, man? I mean, I got a Canon.
Sorry, I lost you there for a second.
Yeah, I said I literally just graduated high school not even a month ago. I'm sure you can make an exception for me, Jordan. I mean, I have a Canon. You won't be disappointed.
Come on out, man. Come on out. It's never too late. Never too late.
Hey, Jordan, I really appreciate your time, man. I know you're in a hurry. I really appreciate it. It's been a pleasure. Hopefully we can do it again in the future. Before I let you go, is there anything else you'd like to tell myself and our listeners?
Well, yeah, you guys are in Chicago and being out there last week, I think you guys got some good days ahead of you. Coach Trustman seems like he's got a good head on his shoulders. I'm fired up for the Bears fans.
Hey, I appreciate it, Jordan. Wishing you nothing but the best. Take care.
Thanks, man. You too.